You're looking good, sharp as always. Good to have you back, man. So let's take a look at what our next battleground is going to be. We just saw Volskaya Foundry. Now we're going to take a journey to the Dragon Shire. And I think now things are going to go a little more, how should I say, standard. I mean, Volskaya Foundry is a map that is still a little unexplored in the competitive scene. We don't really get to see it, especially not with the powered up Protector. So really cool to see that for the first time in HGC China on camera. But now we're moving to one of the oldest battlegrounds in the game, and I would really like RPG at least to just, go standard a little bit more. Go double support if you need to, because Chicken just had a way different game with that Malfurion, but don't go for experimental picks like that Cassia Lily questionable synergy combo again. I just really think they need to play to their strengths, not to the experiments, if they want to advance to the next game.
Well, as you can see here, they currently have not exactly got a lot of experience this season on this map. 0 and 1 compared to 0 and 3. One of these teams is about to break a 0% win ratio on this map, and neither one has played it too much.
Yeah, very true. The battle of zeros, if you will. One of the teams is now going to get their first win of the current season on Battleground, on this Dragonshire Battleground. If you compare it to SBT, by the way, which is... they're basically undefeated on this one. I think their record is 11 and 0, 12 and 0. It's just insane. And you can really see
something in 0.
Exactly, exactly. And you can really see how much of a challenge it is going to be for all those teams as they progress, as they advance through this playoff stage. Because at the very end, SBT, CE, and the One are waiting for you, and those are no easy bosses to defeat.
And it's a tough road. It is a very tough road. All the One has to do is to win one best of 5, and they're going to Eastern Clash. That's the only pressure they have on them, because they put themselves in that comfortable position.
Exactly. And now we see Maiev taking out of the equation here. First pick right now, I think, has become more attractive than ever before, because you basically threaten your opponents not just by picking a strong hero first, but by picking Maiev first. And if you're not first pick now in those drafts, you're basically forced to ban Maiev or to come up with a strategy that is so good against Maiev that she can't even shine. So that leaves heroes like Hanzo, that leaves heroes like Genji open, and I think if there's ever been a time to be a happy Shimada bro, it's this one, because Maiev took a little bit of that limelight away from the Japanese archers and ninjas.
She did, but in this case, as you have stated, she is banned. But it is interesting that Hanzo especially is still prioritized so heavily in China compared to the other regions, where he sort of dropped down to maybe a second rotation pick at maximum.
Yeah.
Very rarely will we see him this early. This hero, on the other hand, has still held a lot of priority. The Dahaka and even the Tyrael is still relatively high up, although his win rate has sat at a fairly solid, I think it's like 43%, if I remember J-House tweet.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really weird spot for Dahaka right now. On the one hand, he's still that solid split pusher. He's still that solid global presence off tank. On the other hand, his win rates, they used to be a little bit better. Teams used to be a little bit more, successful with utilizing the Zerg. But I still think he's a really great choice, especially on Dragonshire. He can be really solid. Tyrael, on the other end, is a hero that we need to talk about, Tetra, because ever since his rework coming hand in hand with a mecha patch, he's just not the same anymore. He's just so much more flexible right now, the way you build him, the way you play him. Even a sacrilege to many players before has happened. Holy Ground at 13 is not always a given choice. It's not always a standard choice anymore. That's
Blasphemy.
How good. Blasphemy. It's literally how good his talent tree and how competitive his talent tree has become. Because Law and Order, for example, a double talent, if you will, interaction between Smite and Righteousness has become so good.
It is very good, but either way, like you said, it's his flexibility that has really just given him that kind of priority, as we do see him picked up here. Now, tanks being hovered over. Looks like the target is going to be Wang. We've seen Wang. The Johanna was being hovered over for a longer duration there. Wang was actually very fond of Johanna this season. Not so much last season, but this season. However, right now, he's done Muradin twice in a row, so... what are they looking at? Like, Wang's top heroes this season, I'm pretty sure in terms of pick rates, have been Anub and Johanna, but they're hovering over the ETC, want to prevent that potential stun combo of Uther, or, of course, the Holy Cow.
Exactly. ETC is just one of those heroes that could always land a lucky shot. If you're behind 2 levels, all you need is one mosh pit and you're back in the game.
Yep.
If you're ahead, go stage dive and maybe have a counter to Dehaka and expand your lead even further. I think the ETC can be a really good pick here for RPG, and as such marks a respectable ban for TimeFlow. Good choice here. Generally speaking, like what I always tell to a lot of people who keep asking me, Kendrick, what do I ban? You know, if I'm the banner in Hero League, what do I do? If you don't know what to ban ETC, because he's such a good, solid, reliable hero.
Exactly. That or Cho. 2 bans for the price of 1. No, don't do that. The ETC is a very reasonable ban in pretty much any scenario. Unless they already have 2 tanks, it's unlikely they're going to do triple tank. We're very much out of that meta. And the call was made a little bit earlier. It looks like we are going to see Wang reverting to that Johanna this time. And they're going to bring out the Malthael. Very cool to see.
Yeah, Malthael, of course, did get a little bit of polish there as well. A couple of nerfs with recent updates. However, his rework has made him actually more fearsome than ever before. I think under the right circumstances. As a soul laner, against a Dehaka, I think he can actually do really well right now with increased wave clear. And then we see the last rites coming into action multiple times. Tormented Souls not so much anymore due to the way that Malthael's auto attacks now work. He has a slight cleave in front of him, so he naturally gains a little bit of AoE already, which oftentimes leaves Tormented Souls not needed anymore.
Which is true, but it's still viable. It's still
viable.
Good for AoE multi-tank comps, which this is. But it's a situation of there's a very high chance you're going to get sanked, and if you can get that full cooldown reduction on last rites, then you easily outtime Zag, you outtime Sound Barrier, as we're seeing here. So last rites usually is going to get the bigger payoff, but it is going to be the Lucio and the Li Ming here. The poke damage from TimeFlow is kind of crazy.
Yeah. By the same token, though, not only do they have good poke, TimeFlow that is, but their defensive measures are also through the roof right now. As you said, Sanctification could be a thing. On top of that, we have a Sound Barrier. As long as those 2 abilities are not overlapping and canceling each other out, I think they're going to have so much protection against both Malthael, the swinging Genji Blade, of course, as well. It's going to be really hard for RPG to pierce through that. I think they will have to play a solo tank Johanna and need more DPS.
What kind of DPS do they want to go for here? They want to, well, that's actually kind of both. That gives them at least a little bit more protection and a little bit more damage of whatever they want in general. Dropping it on the Johanna as sort of that destruction vehicle. If you want to drop your damage on top of something, might as well be the thing that's going to live. And, of course, the copy of Genji, or even the copy of Malthael, even without talents these days, Malthael is still pretty reasonable.
Yeah, Tetra, I gotta tell you, a Malthael copy is very scary. It's very scary. It has increased auto attack damage, it has increased ability power as well, and it's quite hard to kill because that lifesteal, that self-healing is no joke. If you can't burst down the copy quickly enough, you're gonna have some serious trouble dealing with it. But as you put it, Genji also a fantastic copy target. Double Genji means double trouble for that Lucio in the backline if he doesn't have Sound Barrier ready. So I'm extremely excited to see this Abathur come into play. Now, the only thing that worries me a little bit about it is that, traditionally speaking, we haven't really seen RPG rely a lot on Abathur throughout the course of the season.
There's also the point of, traditionally speaking, this is not the best of Abathur maps. It's very small in terms of rotation times between lanes. It takes a very small amount of time to move, say, from bot to mid to top, etc. So Abathur, if he wants to body soak, might struggle. But we have seen teams like, I think, Dignitas, if my memory serves me correctly, have been pretty effective at holding down the lanes in that way, and not even taking the risk of moving Abathur out of base, just having him there and relying on the symbiote as opposed to body soak. Body soak in general is a risky move.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, give it up once more for our team on the left-hand side. In the blues, it is TimeFlow. With Timeless on Dehaka, we have Cat on Li Ming, 11 plays Hanzo, Atui is on the Tyrael, and last but not least, we have F-Show on Lucio.
And on the right-hand side, it is going to be RPG. And playing for them, Chicken on the Malthael, Wang on the Johanna, Sa on the Uther, Infinity is playing on the Abathur, and Loktar is playing on the Genji. Interesting they spell Infinity's name with a Y on the sheet, but he spells it with an E in game.
Yeah, it's Infinity or Infinite, whatever you want to call it. His Abathur is going to be one hero that we definitely want to take a look at. And we have mentioned the DPS backline or the DPS flex players of RPG to be their greatest staple. And now they basically have to use that synergy between Loktar and Affinity to really keep themselves in this series. If they fall behind 2-1, it's only one more game for them to drop out of this tournament, and also having to play the Crucible. Lots of damage coming in from 11. That scatter arrow was amazing.
That scatter arrow was great, but
I think
also
everyone hit, actually.
taken redemption.
Every single one.
He got so many stacks there.
Yeah.
F-Show takes this game. The damage, not enough to finish him off. Really close, relying on that speed boost as opposed to healing himself there, which was the correct move to get himself out of any danger range.
Quite frankly, if you need to get out of harm's way, or if you need to save an ally in trouble, use the speed boost as Lucio. Don't go for the healing, because it's usually not going to be enough to keep yourself alive here. In the meantime, Chicken on the top lane, building up a lot of pressure. And speaking of pressure, Atui finds himself pressured quite a bit here by RPG. So up to this point, if they manage to keep up this momentum, keep up this great laning, look at those dodges by Wang, fancy pants. They're going to be in a good spot because normally when you play against an Abathur, you need to utilize the early game because there's one less body to soak from, there's one less body to defend the lanes to really threaten those compositions a little bit.
At this point, the way that Hanzo is going at this point, he will probably complete redemption in like the next 4 minutes if he's able to keep up that pace. But now, though, he is not continuously hitting Wang over and over again. He is doing a mercenary camp, and Wang, with the help of Abathur, looking to try and make a play.
Uther's already on the way. Let's see how much Wang is willing to commit to it. Saw just being a little bit too late. It is 5 members of TimeFlow, by the way, all trying to get a piece of Johanna, but the Crusader makes it behind the walls in time.
Can you go for a second? I need to refresh because
no problem. In the meantime, we see a little bit of pressure here coming in the bot lane and the top lane alike. Those night cams are going to have great value overall. Keep in mind that we, of course, have the anti-magic aura, reducing all damage done by 10%. Really huge. Now, in the meantime, we see another vision error here. Wang trying to wait for the right moment to engage. There's only 3 people now against 4. Abathur, of course, in the mix there as well. And Dehaka nowhere to be found.
Down goes Son. Dropping low, leaving, looking for the final shot. Lucio, #1 player killer hero, chasing him down. Son.
Beautiful dodges, though. Jukes left and right.
Get out.
Yeah, that was well done by Saad, basically not giving Cat the reset on his abilities that he was looking for, but now he got it! Okay, jinx it. Cast the curse is real.
Just
beautifully done. Yeah, and just in time, as you said, the time flow is currently all favoring the blue team here, with the Dragon Knight now being in the mix there as well. They basically used all the distraction cost in the bottom lane there to secure themselves both shrines, and the Dragon Knight now here pushing greatly in the middle. But you can really see what TimeFlow is trying to do right now. They're trying not necessarily to build up the most heaviest of pressures, but they really just want to extend their lead right now. Get more experience, soak on all the lanes with Dehaka, Lucio on the bottom, and, you know, just win the race to level 10, basically.
As the Dragon Knight got chunked there. Nice drag by Dehaka, but there's no towers really. Only single tower, not enough to do enough damage to Chicken. But Chicken's damage output onto the Dragon Knight dropped it so low that it's forced to move to the bot lane with the team now to try and siege down there. To be fair, this is a better lane to be pushing, but it's still a little bit more irritating that they had to make this rotation as opposed to potentially grabbing both, which they might have been able to do if the Dragon Knight was healthier.
Yeah, RPG's defenses here are working quite well here. You can really see the value of Teriel's Justice for All, though. 1 shield, and you completely deny the value of any Swift Strike shenanigans coming in from Genji here. Well defended here overall. Teriel actually going in with the Eldrin's Might. I'm not sure if that was planned because he could have used it as an escape. For now, though, he still manages to survive. But yeah, good defense by RPG. They did lose a fort, although the bottom lane is quite hurt. Let's see if they can actually balance it out in terms of overall kills and experience.
Raphael, the touch of death coming in at level 7. Abathur, bringing out the mule. Gonna try and get that value, protect that bottom lane. Pretty much the only lane that's really taken significant damage, so pretty reasonable here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they can hold it, though, because the Siege Giant camp is already on the horizon here, and the strong poke by Hanzo is just absolutely wrecking the minion waves here, going for those PvE talents at level 4, of course, making it much easier to keep the lanes in check here. For now, though, look at that. 4 people committed from RPG to defend that bottom lane. In the meantime, Abthor is trying his hardest to keep the soak up against Dahaka.
Yep, he is just body soaking top lane from behind the gate, but playing it a little safe. Interesting build here, as the observers are highlighting here. A scatter arrow build, but with redemption at level 1.
Very true. So we have a cooldown reduction on Scattering Arrow, and of course we have increased PvE damage, but the fort is not to be defended here. Lockter actually dropping really low. Uther trying his best to keep him alive, but those Scatter Arrows, Tetra, I just don't know what to say about it. RPG has no remedy, no countermeasures to keep Hanzo in check for this point.
It's consistent damage right now. They don't have that hard engage, as you mentioned. What's going to be their hard engage late game? Falling Sword, Blessed Shield? It's not efficient. They need Genji to start pressuring Hanzo. And right now, he's not getting that opportunity because it's level 10. If he goes in, it's suicide.
TimeFlow is just everywhere on the map. They read their opponents like an open book. They basically know exactly where they would go. They stole away the night camp of their opponent's side. And as you said, the hard engage potential there is very limited for RPG. And the moment Genji goes in, guess what? There's going to be a Turiel Righteousness, there's going to be a Sanctification, or even a Sound Barrier to keep everybody safe and sound. So with Johanna being such an immobile hero, and a very predictable hero to read as well if she doesn't go Falling Sword, I just can't see a window for RPG to really make any plays happen.
Top is going to get taken down. RPG, their strategy here is to counter push. Genji tried to make a play over the wall, instead got dragged by Dahaka, so actually took an extra hit or two. Level 10 is now finally available. There is the Last Rites and the Blessed Shield. So RPG, they get a little bit of counter pushing, and only really get the front wall though, and now they kind of have to either port back or try and sneak the Dragon Knight. It looks like the opportunity is going to be both. A couple of members sneaking up to top lane, but they will run into the members of TimeFlow, and Genji's not here. He's taken the longer rotate. He took the port route, so now he's finally going to arrive. So RPG, a lot of patience shown there.
They're trying to go for Hanzo. Hanzo is currently isolated. He gets over the wall, though, to safety.
Dahaka.
Movement speed by Lucio actually helping him out as well. It out-rotated, outsmarted, outplayed, baby. Here goes the Dragon Knight yet again for TimeFlow. Beautiful rotation and using Dahaka's global mobility to the max stature.
Yeah, and that's a clone used there. The ultimate evolution was procced, so they're going to lose even more value here. As the Dragon Knight is in fact just going to be very patient. It's going to clear the minion wave here, try and get some minions that they can push with. So even after the Dragon Knight has expired, they could potentially try and finish off that keep in the bot lane with the help of the minions.
And that's exactly what we talked about earlier, Tetra. The Johanna is not engaging enough. She's not unpredictable enough to really lock anyone down. The Blessed Shield was dodged very easily, like it was a piece of cake, and now the Dragon Knight is hammering on that bottom lane while everyone else is causing a little bit of distraction, a little bit of commotion there in the middle lane.
And so we see mid taking, like you said, that little bits of damage. The scatter arrows continuing to fly in. Not so bad at this point. Not as good of an angle as the bot lane was for them. But what has happened? The Dragon Knight is taking a very slow, methodical push. It's not all inning, and we'll even rotate to mid a bit. Drops a fire breath here to help Siege. They're not able to finish off mid, but it's so low. The Mule will be able to repair a little once it's off cooldown, but it probably won't save it. It might not even get there in time.
Yeah, 13, of course, now being a big factor there as well. Timeless just smells his opponents there. Great map awareness by him as well. The Mule having a bad time. Rest and sleep well, my prince.
Gets taken out. It was a last-ditch effort, but the Mule was not able to save mid. On the bright side, though, the push on bot only really opened up the wall, but as we said, guess what's here now? A minion wave, because the Dragon Knight pushed up, and Dahaka was even able to grab a mercenary camp to push with them. So now they can try and make a play. Last rights! So close! If that dash had come in from Genji a second earlier, they might have been able to pick up the kill there.
Okay, there were a couple of interesting things happening in this team fight. First of all, the Blessed Shield is good. The copy is in the middle of TimeFlow's face. Can they make it happen with double Genjo? Here goes the Dragon Blade. This is basically their moment to shine.
Cats alone, take it out.
It's
finally.
one.
The Dragon Blade was reset, but it was not enough for Wag to, for Locktar to want to commit. The clone jumps in, so a little bit of extra damage, but not enough. they get a kill. That's their first of the game. Comeback XP is a wonderful thing.
And I can't help but feel like they got this kill because of misplays by TimeFlow. Let's just see if there's more action going on here. Good steal on that mercenary camp, but TimeFlow, they use both panic buttons, both defensive panic buttons at the same time. This is exactly what we talked about during the draft. You must not use sound barrier and sanctification at the same time. If you do so, you're basically canceling each other out. And also, then of course we had the golden blessed shield at the right time, at the right target, and from there on it was just a really good time for RPG. A sign of hope, a sign of life here.
Yeah, lovely use of Holy Ground by Tyrael, but unfortunately Li Ning was the wrong side of it. So she took the lower route instead of jumping with her team top route, which would have got her out. A slight either bit of miscommunication or a bit of bad luck. Bless Shield used here, committing onto Timeless. Can they get it? There's the isolation, preventing the last right at minimum. Last right easily dodged with the burrow. Timeless will fall here, but he prevents the stack, and that is very important. To keep Chicken that little bit weaker, keep that cooldown high.
By the same token, though, it is yet another kill for RPG, and they're probably going to get here the top fort as well with that mercenary camp and a huge minion wave. And all that provides additional experience to the team that is currently behind one entire level. 16 is going to be a big spike in power, though, for TimeFlow, but they need to wait 17 seconds, which gives more time for RPG to stabilize, deal with the mercenary pressure themselves in the bottom lane. And Tetcher, all of a sudden, I think this game just got, you know, a lot more even again.
I mean, other than the structure count, which is significantly in favor of TimeFlow, the XP is catching up. It went from like a 2 and a bit level lead to a half level lead, thanks to just all of the minions and mercenaries that RPG are picking up. Genji continuing to clear out the mercenary camp in the bot lane. Not the best wave clearer, but he's there. So they have control of bot. RPG beginning to group up. Abathur Clone could come in at any moment as Noctar moves in. The 16 is available. They engaged into a Divine Shield used on Malthael, but he... Oh my god, the healing! Dragonblade comes in. Last Rites gets nothing. The clone of Genji trying to poke in, getting some damage, but Noctar not able to finish off anyone with the Dragon Knight. That was a willful and knowledgeable engage into 16. Didn't get a kill, but are they surprised? They burnt all the heroics, including Ultimate Evo. And but the enemies, they only used isolation. They didn't use isolation.
The thing is, I think what RPG was trying to do in that engage is bait out those defensive cooldowns like Sanctification and Sound Barrier. They did so, but by the same token, they also used all of their own cooldowns. Now they don't have Dragon Blade, they don't have Divine Shield. They bought themselves enough time, though, to get one of the shrines back, so no imminent Dragon Knight threat, excuse me. Speaking of structural disadvantages here and advantages, though, I think it's not really that big of a deal for RPG on this map, because one late game Dragon Knight, and you're basically going to punch through a fort and maybe even a keep as well if you play it well. So I think RPG is fine in that regard, but they really need to time their engages a little bit more wisely, because engaging into 16, burning all cooldowns for no reason, basically, is not smart Heroes of the Storm play.
Dragon Arrow. Noctar able to dash through. Now it's Wag who's in trouble. Gets cleansed out of the isolation. Vision is reduced. The extra range drag from Dark just short. But Timeless tunneling down here for that attempted engage prevented the pressure that he was putting on top lane continuing. He now has to re-rotate up if he has any intention of trying to sneak a Dragon Knight for his team again. Yeah,
right now, someone like Genji, for example, who has great mobility, needs to go bottom already. I think they need they need to get one of those shrines. That's exactly what they need to do. Have one person maybe stalling it out in the middle. Johanna getting dismounted by the minions. Minions MVP. I think this could be a Dragon Knight. They're not going to make it in time.
Genji, Genji will delay. Genji will delay this temporarily, and that will allow them to get a bomb. But they need to get out of there before they take too much damage. And Johanna needs to leave as soon as possible, or at least get grouped up with her team. If they want to fight bots, they need to fight as a team.
Exactly. That was very close for RPG. A true, you know, close moment here. Let's see. Chicken, though. Can he find his way back? Strong shielding here in 11. I gotta give it to 11, man. That Hanzo is quite the menace. They just can't seem to find a way to keep him in check. RPG, that is. Here comes an engage over the wall.
Stars on his own. Dragon Arrow is landed, looking to try and finish off the Uther. He's still alive, keeping himself in the backline. Here comes the Genji clone. They're moving out of the stack, trying to find themselves some time. Genji clone as a distraction. Chicken gets healed up. Once again, the last rights gets absolutely nothing, as Infinity will go down on that Abathur clone. Here's the Dragon Blade Divine Shield with so little health. Just an absolute commitment onto trying to get the reset, but not enough. Down goes Malthael as the first kill. Abathur is here as the Full team
No!
wipe going down. TimeFlow wipes RPG somehow, and they're able to move on to the keep and potentially the core.
RPG was trying to play this so smart, but in the end, unfortunately, it all turned south for them. With the loss of one member early on, Malthael, they gave cooldown resets to Li Ming. Abathur, just another victim in the fray. We can't really blame him too much. He was trying his best there to use a copy. Unfortunately, didn't mind his own position beforehand. And I think with everyone dead and a clean wipe, TimeFlow is going to take game number 3 and takes the lead in this series 2-1. Well played and GG.
Dragon Arrow for style points heading off into the distance. But that is going to be GG. Like you said, TimeFlow getting themselves a small lead here and one step closer to moving up a step in this ladder-based playoffs format.
And once again, Tetra, it is the fate of a solo tank